All right, let's get down to Bizwax right real quickly here. Our leader today that's going to be training us today, I'm so excited about her. Man, she was a locksmith and decided I'm done with being a business owner, a traditional business owner. And that's why I love business owners. They understand what they got to go through. And she got started, did such a great job, and she moved out of the city straight down to Lubbock, Texas. Didn't know nobody, decided to put the AC flag, bam, in the ground and said, I'm going to own this town, lock, stock, and barrel. And as she started building, her upline came into town and started helping her build it out there. And then she got the nerves to say, I'm going to ask Mr. Cooper to come out. And she said to Dean Durrally, you think he'll come? Dean Durrally probably said, go ask him. Dean, and she asked Mr. Cooper to come, and he said, absolutely. And see, that's what a leader. Don't vacillate. Just do it. Get her done. Get her done. She invited him out, packed the house out. And she may not know this, but I know that he wanted to come back again. She did such a fantastic job. And she said, I didn't know, but I worked feverishly to make it happen. See, there's another key right there. She worked feverishly, not halfway, not, she just did it, got her done. And I'm telling you, I'm so proud of her. She's out there blowing and going, building a large organization. And then she went down to other places and started building, and she's just done a fantastic job. Without further ado, can we give a warm welcome to none other than my dear friend, the taco lady herself, the great Miss Roxann Corralejo.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Mr. L. Thomas. My goodness. So I love that word that you said, work feverishly, because that is exactly what I do when I commit to something. I work feverishly, and I do not know how other people don't have that mindset. That drives me crazy. But I get that from watching people like you. When you go in, you go all in, and that's exactly what you do. You work feverishly. We've heard stories about you door knocking, giving people money, like whatever it took. And I love that phrase when asked, what is it that you do? And you respond with whatever it takes. And that is just everything that I pull from you. And so thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for your guidance and instilling that in all of us seeing that you were able to do that. That gives us that confidence, that ability to say, hey, if Mr. L. Thomas can do it, I can do it too. And I love that. And that's why you share all your stories and all that you do so that we know we can do it too. So thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership and all that you do. So you guys, I am back, but I'd like to recap a little bit about what we've covered because I feel like some of these things are super important and I don't ever want us to forget because sometimes we listen to something, either we take notes, I have to go back in my notes or else I forget. And I go back and I'm like, wait a minute, I do remember that one person saying that one thing that one time that really hit hard, but then you forget about it because your day goes on, you hear something else. I hear Trish, she's like, yep, happens to me all the time. I see it. So the first week, I want to bring up again what we talked about, and that was confidence. And that's exactly what Mr. Al Thomas just shows in himself, but has that ability for us to build that confidence in us. So if you remember the definition of confidence that I chose that I liked is the feeling of self-assurance from one's appreciation of one's own ability and qualities. That feeling of self-assurance from your own abilities and own qualities. Well, what if you don't have that confidence? What if you don't have that ability or qualities? Guess what? Everyone on this call is a lot of people here that do. Utilize us. Mr. Trolley says it all the time. He says it comes down to two things, and that's either it's a talent issue or an effort issue. Well, talent here with ACN in our group is not an issue. Why? Because we have so many amazing servant leaders here that can be that talent for you. If you can't present yet, it's okay. We have phenomenal presenters. If you can't close yet, it's okay. We got people that can close. If you can't qualify someone, one thing that a lot of people are lacking is not utilizing the resources we have here. Why? Why are you so scared to ask for help? I'm the first one. I'd be like, you know what? I've done it so much to Mr. Joshua Casey. I got someone that's ex-military. I need your help. He's not part of my line whatsoever, but I am not scared to ask for help. So if talent might be an issue and you're having trouble closing someone, ask for help. It's okay. That's where that confidence comes from. You might not be confident in your own abilities, but be confident in the team that we have here. Be confident in the support that you have that can do that. So once we realize that it's not a talent issue, then it becomes an effort issue. And that's where it hits. That's where it hits hard. And you're like, oh man, you're right. It has to be an effort issue then. Well, that second week, we talked about commitment. And this is where Greg Provenzano had asked us to make certain commitments. And you guys were nodding your head. You wrote them down. You were in agreement. The first commitment was be committed to being here 5 years from now. And everyone said, yeah, absolutely. I can do that. I'm committed. I'm going to be here. Great. But what were some other commitments? There were 8 of them. One of them was commit to a weekly meeting. Y'all were nodding your heads, but who here is actually committed to a weekly meeting? Who's here attended one? Who's here invited guests to one? Who's here started one in their own city? People are raising their hands. Absolutely, yes. Some of us have not committed to doing that though. A live weekly meeting. Let me throw in that live word. That commitment was live. Zoom is easy. We can attend 3 meetings a day. That's easy. But a live weekly meeting. How many of us actually committed and are doing that? Commit to a goal for event pre-registrations. That was another one. Who here actually even set a goal for pre-registrations for Orlando? And they're like, oh, it's October. I'll worry about it as we get closer. We got to worry about it now. Because what if you have 3-4 people commit today? That's going to triple, quadruple your efforts as we get closer. So how many of us actually sat and made those commitments and followed through with those commitments, put plans in place? I know I bring up Joshua Casey again. He has an event, his first event that he's so excited for throwing. This Saturday, he's hosting his own event because he says, you know what? No one's doing it in my area. I'm having to travel all the way further north to go to an event. I'm going to have one here and he's doing it. How many of you are stepping up and doing that? Oh, I see his camera on. He's on. Gloating about Mr. Casey. But it's because I get to see some of this growth in him, which is phenomenal, just to see the things that he's doing. And it's inspiring me to do more things. It's inspiring me to step up. I'm having inspiration from every single one of you watching your growth and what you do. And I love that. So are you making these commitments? And if you don't have that confidence, utilize the confidence we have here with everybody else. So today, that leads into what I want to talk to you today. And Mr. Trolley brought this up on Sunday. We had a group meeting and he said, is ACN an art or a science? I'm going to give you guys a second to put in the chat. What do you guys think? Is it an art or is it a science? I see people typing, and I know we're going to probably get mixed signals. We see an art, Catherine, yes. We see both. We see an art, both, art. All right, we see a lot of arts because some of y'all were on that call. You guys already know the answer. Catherine's like, yeah, I know the answer. I got this. Yes, it's an art. Why is it an art? It's because art is changing. Art changes. What we find is popular in one time frame changes all the time. Think about fashion. Man, I am not a fashionista, but I know and I can tell that fashion changes all the stinking time. Now, I went out and I saw young girls that are like 21, 22 wearing stuff that people were wearing in the 70s, big bell-bottom pants. And I'm like, what is going on? These high-rise jeans. And I'm like, this is crazy. That stuff I didn't even wear. It wasn't cool if I wore those. Art changes, fashion changes, but it can come back. That's what makes ACN an art, is that it can come back. So one thing I want to share with you guys is that seasons can end. Absolutely. They do end. That's why it's called a season. Seasons end. But does that mean it's over? 100% not. That just means when one season ends, what does that mean, you guys? Another one's about to begin, right? That's the same thing with fashion or anything in the world. That's the same thing with ACN. So just to share a couple of my seasons that I went through with ACN is my very first one that we've talked about a lot, or I won't say my first, but my biggest is that we've talked about it a lot, is my move to Lubbock. So what happened is I'm in San Antonio and my business is going backwards. I don't want to say dying, but it's dying. If it's going backwards, it's dying. I'm working, I'm putting in the effort, I'm trying, obviously not putting in enough effort, but I think I am at the time. But my points are going backwards. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm at this point, I think like 1,400 points. So I'm like, yes, almost halfway to RVP. That's exciting. But then I start going backwards. And I end up with 700 points. And I start freaking out because I'm like, whoa, I may lose my RD status. That's not okay. That's not okay to me. And what is happening is that I kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It wasn't working, but guess what? I kept doing it over and over and over and over again. If something is not working, why do we keep doing it over and over and over again? I don't know. I still look back and I can't explain why. But I knew there became a turning point for me. And I said, you know what? Something has to change. I feel it. I don't know what it is. Something's changing. It has to change. Is something going to be big? And then I heard about deregulation in Lubbock. That is what sparked that move, because I had a season in San Antonio. I lived in San Antonio for 8 years. It was my home. But I saw an opportunity and I made a pivot. That's what's crucial, is we have to make that pivot to change things. Something has to change. That change has to start with you. It's not going to change just because. If the world is changing constantly all the time, but if you're standing still, you're not changing. Yes, a shift. Absolutely, Trish. A shift has to be made. Now, it doesn't have to be as drastic as rooting your whole life and moving 6 hours away. Absolutely not. So a recent shift that I've made is, I know I'm working with my team, and for whatever reason, my guests aren't showing up to in-person meetings. They're not showing up to Zooms. But not only is it happening with me, it's happening to my team. They have guests that are flaking. Trish is saying, I heard that we had so many invites for a PBR that I was supposed to present at, and then I'm there and I have reps that are there. Not a single guest shows up. Not a single guest. What is happening? I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. All I know is something has to change. So what happens? We have to make a pivot. And for me, before I share with my team what that pivot's going to do, I'm going to do it myself first just to see what works. So I said, you know what? I'm someone, I like in-person meetings. I am the best in person. My personality will shine on Zoom, but I am the best in person. So I will always push for an in-person meeting above all else for first exposure. In person, if that doesn't work, then we'll do a 2-on-1 in Zoom. I do not like group meetings on Zoom. That's just not where I shine. And that's okay. I know where my weakness is. Big groups just don't yield a great closing ratio for me. But I have to pivot. I have to change. People aren't meeting on Zoom. They're not meeting in person. What do I got to do? You know what? Let's just invite everybody to our Monday night overview. We do a Monday night overview and a fast start training. I hate that being a first exposure because it's so much information. But I said, hey, whatever gets people in front of the business is whatever gets people in front of the business. If I can get them in front of me, let's at least try to get them here. And so that's what we're doing, and we're pushing. We only had 2 guests only, but that's better than 15 people in a row flaking, right? So it is a step forward. Now, the results of that. So for myself, I was helping with Trish, she's on this call, invite someone. She had a guest show up. The guest showed up late. Her son was sick. We already knew that, but she did show up late, and she showed up on the money side. I'm like, cool, she's late, but hey, she gets to see how we're making money. That's exciting. So I see her come in. I'm a co-host, so I hit accept, get her in. And then 2 slides later, where it talks about that $2.99, all of a sudden she drops off and she leaves. She saw 2 slides in ACN and she's already out. But guess what? It was an exposure, and that's okay. What if Trish and I spent an hour with her trying to talk to her and she still just wasn't interested, wasn't out, whatever the situation was? It happens. But because we're pushing everybody now to this Zoom, I had someone I didn't even know who had a guest on the call. And then all of a sudden at 10 p.m., I get a rep alert. Wait, what? We had a rep sign up in the business because they're pushing people to that call. Nobody sat down with them personally. No one did a Zoom personally. They just jumped onto an overview. We have all these resources at our hands. Utilize them. I wasn't utilizing it because I know where my strengths are. But you know what? If it's not working, make that pivot. It's okay. What is it about change that causes us not to change? Something to think about. There's something about change that causes us not to change. It's scary. I get it. It is scary for me because I know where, but exposures is the game. Get people in front of the business and things will go back on track. And guess what? Sometimes those fashions come back into play. What we were doing before may work again, but we don't know. We have to keep pivoting and keep moving. So now, where we are today here in Lubbock, there has been a change and a pivot, like I mentioned. It's been different, but that's a season, and that's okay. I know things are going to get better. The team knows things are going to get better. They're going to continue to grow because it's still growing forward. And not only with that, we have people that are getting promoted. people that are hitting point milestones. So business is still moving forward. The only thing that's changed is the number of reps that are getting in the business from today is different than January. January, we had a big boom, and guess what? We're going to have it again. We know it and we believe it. So one of the things that I hear a lot when we're talking about pivot or before that pivot is I'm trying. I'm trying. That's one thing you guys, if you hear me say it, please slap me. Why? Because for me, trying should be in my vocabulary. It's not that you need to do, but when you're trying, that means you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm going to bring up a conversation, and I know he's on the call, and I don't want him to feel like I'm picking on him or anything, but a conversation that I had yesterday with someone that was going over, he got a new rep in the business. It's exciting. 7 days in the business, exciting. And all I hear him saying is that he's not interested. I can't get him on a call. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm trying. He's going to flake out. And all this negative talk is coming. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you already counting this guy out if he's in? We're talking about get through his people, get through his network, 100%, absolutely. But all I hear is I'm trying. As you're trying, let's pivot and try something different. And so, whoa, I don't know what that was. It wasn't me, I promise. So as we continue to try, we're growing and we're changing things every single day. And that's how we continue to grow, you guys. And so as we're trying, there was something that I had brought up is try something. And I gave the same advice I did with me. I said, you know what? Get him on the call. If you can't get him in person, if you can't qualify this guy, get him on the evening overview. And he was like, oh, well, he's always busy. I'll try. Jess, let's go. Think positive in your mind. Even though we're thinking I'll try, think that positivity, like it's going to happen. And I told him, think about this guy not giving up. Think about this guy not quitting. Think about this guy as your next, as a senior vice president. Have that in your mind, because if you're thinking that it's hard to get him to meetings, that it's pulling, he's feeling that. So every single new person that you guys have, think of them as your next senior vice president, even though they're not showing up. My thought is if I have someone that's not showing up, I didn't do a good job. If I have someone that's not qualifying, I did not express how important it is to qualify. So instead of trying, think in your head that it's already done. Who here is already a regional vice president? It's already done. Who here is already a senior vice president? A senior vice president platinum. Think about that with your team too. We can't control what they do. Absolutely not. But guess what? Your strength and your confidence in them will give them confidence, because I can tell you, I don't know who this person is, this new person. I can tell you that he's scared. He doesn't know what the heck he got into. It was a cold market peak. I didn't even know that. He doesn't know who he's working with. He doesn't know these people. So it's our job to have that confidence in them and let them know they can succeed. They can do this because they have our help. They have all of our help here put together. So you guys, it doesn't matter what's going on in your business. Remember, it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change, and change is important. So we want to have that confidence not only in yourself, but have your confidence in the team that you have here with us, all of us. It doesn't matter if we're in the same line or not. Stay committed to your commitments. Make that commitment. Make that goal to pre-registration. Make that goal so when you're going to hit your next promotion, and stay committed to it. Do it. Don't try. Get it done. And you guys, pivot and change when needed. I do this all the time. I try to see what's not working and how we get to change it. So that's all I had for you guys today. I hope this week is a full of pivots week. I hope it's a full of transformation. I hope it's a week of just extensive growth, and I want to hear about it on next week's call. Thank you guys. You guys have a great day.